Hi, my name is Sasha, and in this video I'm basically going to be outlining my college application process from this school year. So first, set a baseline for your guys' expectations. I'm going to talk about my stats, my academic stats. And so I had a 3.99 unweighted GPA and a 4.55 weighted GPA. My school doesn't do like a 5-point GPA scale, so the max is generally about 4.75, and my rank was 9th out of 560 students in my graduating class. I got a 35 composite score on my ACT, with a 35 in English, a 35 on math, a 36 on reading, and a 35 in science. I took Math 2 and Physics for my SAT subject tests. I got a 790 on Math 2 and then a 760 on Physics. I also took the PSAT during my junior year, and I scored a 1500, and I was named a National Merit Finalist for the state of Utah. And I took 3 classes throughout my high school career at my local state university. And so I took Calculus 1 after my freshman year, and I got an A. Then I took multivariable calculus during the fall of my junior year, and I got 107%, and I was ranked the highest. I was the highest ranked student in the class. And then I also took calculus-based physics during the spring of my junior year, and I was ranked in the top percentile, and I got 103%. And lastly, my AP scores. So during my freshman year, I took 3 AP tests. I got a 4 on AP Human Geography, a 4 on AP Microeconomics, and a 3 on AP Macroeconomics. And both the economics tests I self-studied. And then during my sophomore year, I got a 5 on AP Physics 1, a 5 on AP Calculus BC, and a 5 on AP Spanish Language. And then I also got a 4 on AP Stats and a 4 on AP US History. Then during my junior year, I took 4 more AP tests and 2 IB tests. So I got a 4 on AP Chemistry, a 5 on Microeconomics, a 4 on Macroeconomics, and a 5 on English Literature. And then I got a 6 on IB Spanish Standard Level and a 5 on IB Economics Standard Level. Alright, and so next I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about my extracurriculars. And so my main extracurricular activity was rowing, and so I did that for an average of about 25 hours a week for all 4 years of high school. And I was the team captain for both my junior and senior years. And I was a bronze medalist at the U.S. Rowing National Championships the summer between my junior and senior years. And then I also did rock climbing for about 10 hours a week on average, and I did that for all 4 years, but that was just for fun, and I didn't really compete in that. I also have taken up biking this past year, about 5 hours a week, but I didn't put that on my college applications because I hadn't been doing it for super long. During my junior year, I competed for the Science Olympiad team for my high school, and during my freshman year, I was on the speech team at my high school. And both my freshman and sophomore years, I was a Boy Scout, and I was an Eagle Scout for both of those years, and I was the senior patrol leader for my troop. And during my freshman year, I also did my Eagle Scout project, in which I raised money for a young boy with cancer and his medical treatments. Alright, so now I'm going to be breaking down which colleges I applied to, and my expectations and my actual results from each decision. So I'm going to be going in chronological order from my first decision until my last decision, and it spans a time period of a bit more than 4 months. So my first decision I received was on December 13th from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And so I expected an acceptance, and I got accepted, but I don't think I was really informed as to how competitive the school was, and so I think it was a little naive of me to expect an acceptance. But I think I was accepted because my stats were on the higher end for the school, and I had some pretty good essays. Alright, and then my next decision was on December 14th from MIT, and I think I was still a bit complacent at this time because I expected an acceptance, but I got deferred. And so I thought I was going to get accepted because I was recruited to row for their men's lightweight rowing team. But how MIT's athletic recruiting works is that they can't just directly offer you admission like other schools can for athletic recruiting, but they can increase your chances of getting accepted. And so I got recruited to row, but then I also had good letters of recommendation from my coaches on my current rowing team here in Utah, and they're both alumni of MIT, and I had decent stats, I didn't think my application would just be thrown out the window, but I was deferred because just the overall application competition at the school, and I had a pretty mediocre interview. I was super jittery and super nervous, and I don't think I performed super well. Alright, so the next decision I received was on January 14th from the University of Utah. And I was expecting an acceptance, and I got accepted with a presidential scholarship. So I was accepted, I believe, because I had good stats and because it was my local state school, so I just had a better chance of getting in. So my next decision came on March 6th from the University of Colorado at Boulder. And I was expecting an acceptance, and I got an acceptance with a presidential scholarship, which was really nice. And I think the main reason I got the scholarship is because they have like a Why Colorado essay, and I was really proud of my essay, and I actually had a good list of reasons for why I wanted to attend Colorado. Alright, so the next college decision I got was also on March 6th, and it was from Purdue. I was expecting an acceptance, and I got accepted, but I kind of applied on a whim, kind of last minute, because they don't really have too many supplemental essays that you have to write for your application, and I had a pretty okay common application essay. And I applied because it was like slightly less expensive than University of Illinois, and by the time I was applying, that was the only school I'd been admitted to, and it has a slightly better location. Alright, and I heard back on March 13th from UC San Diego, and I was expecting an acceptance, and I got accepted, but I got only accepted as an undeclared major as opposed to like my declared major of aerospace engineering. And so I mainly applied because the location is super great, and it's like generally quite close to my hometown, and so but I don't think I'll be attending. On March 14th, I heard back from MIT again, and so at this point I was expecting a rejection, and I was really happy with the offer I'd gotten from Colorado with the presidential scholarship. But when I opened my application, I saw that I had gotten accepted, and I was mainly just looking, when I looked at the acceptance letter, I was looking for the word regret, because all the rejection letters start with "we regret to inform you," but then I think the fourth or fifth word was pleasure on the acceptance letter, and so then at that point I knew I'd been accepted, and that was a really great feeling. And I really thought I was going to get rejected because only about 3% of students who get deferred get accepted during the regular decision round, and I had really just lost hope after being deferred the first round. On March 14th, Georgia Tech also came out at the exact same time as MIT, and I opened it immediately after. And so I was thinking right after I'd gotten accepted to MIT that I definitely couldn't expect to get accepted into both places, so I was definitely expecting a wait list. I don't know why a wait list as opposed to a rejection, but I thought somewhere in between an acceptance and a rejection. And I got waitlisted, and it was more just a gut feeling, and initially, like right away, I declined my spot on the wait list. Alright, so then the next school I heard back from was UCLA on March 20th, and I was expecting, between UCLA and UC Berkeley, I was expecting one of them to accept me and one to reject me, so I didn't know which one was going to be which, so I expected just a kind of a 50-50 shot at UCLA, and so I got accepted, and I really wanted to apply to UCLA because both my parents had gone there, and so I'd been back frequently to the campus to visit, and I really liked the campus because of the warm weather and the architecture there, but yeah, I got accepted. Alright, so on March 26th, I heard back from my last three schools, and so first I heard back from UC Berkeley, and I was expecting a rejection because I kind of predicted earlier that either UCLA or UC Berkeley would accept me, and UCLA had already accepted me the week prior. I think there's a theory kind of floating around that the UC system likes to accept students who applied to both, to only one school to kind of keep the yield rates high. But I actually got accepted to UC Berkeley, and during my sophomore year, this was kind of my dream school, but after I have a friend who goes to UC Berkeley, and I visited him a couple times, and I kind of learned that I wanted to go to a smaller school where I'd get more individual attention. Alright, so then the next school on March 26th that I heard back from was Harvard, and I was expecting a rejection, and I got waitlisted, and so I was expecting a rejection just because it's super competitive, and I'd already gotten into my first option, which was MIT, and so I didn't really care all too much about the result of it, and so I think I got waitlisted because I didn't have a real wow factor to get admitted, but I had a really good interviewer because the alumni that interviewed me was a rower, and so it went really well. Alright, so then the last school I heard back from was Princeton, which was also on March 26th. And my expectation was rejected, and I got rejected. And so kind of for the same reasons as Harvard, I didn't think I was going to get in because it's super competitive, and I had already gotten into MIT, so I didn't really have any expectations. And again, I didn't really have a wow factor, and my interview did go well, but it didn't go quite as well as my Harvard interview. So. Alright, so for the last part of this video, I just want to give a few words of advice to any juniors who are going to be applying to college next year, or anybody younger who will be applying in the future. So first of all, 34, a 35, and a 36 on the ACT are all extremely similar, and so no college is going to reject you for getting a 34, because that's already in the middle 50% of any Ivy League school or any school in the country. And so also in terms of your essays, I wouldn't recommend trying to write about struggles that you've had unless you can really explain how they've turned you into a better person today. because I feel like a lot of people just try and like make their college applications into a sob story, but I don't really know how effective that is. So I decided to just write about what I'm passionate about. So like my common application essay was about how I go climbing with my dad and how that strengthened our relationship. And then I would recommend not telling all your friends about what you're writing your essays on unless you think they're willing to help you or like genuinely willing to help you. Because if you let others set your expectations for you, you're setting yourself up for failure. And yeah, and below in the description, I'll link a copy to all my essays so you can see kind of like what I wrote about. But make sure that you're not copying them because colleges can kind of remember what people write about from previous years. Alright, that's all for the video. See you guys next time.